0814. I'm 81 years old, and I need to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. Independence isn't the virtue you think it is. I spent my entire life believing it was everything. I was wrong. And if you're not careful, you'll make the same mistake I did. Everything society tells you about being self-sufficient, about not needing anyone, about standing on your own 2 feet. It's all true until it isn't. Then it becomes a prison you built yourself. I know because I'm sitting in one right now. My name doesn't matter. My accomplishments don't matter. What matters is that I believed a lie for 60 years, and now I'm running out of time to warn you. Because growing old alone wasn't the worst part. Not even close. But before I tell you what was, you need to understand how I got here. I'm not here to impress you or to make you feel sorry for me. I don't want your pity. I want your attention for the next few minutes because what I'm about to share could save you from wasting decades of your life the way I did. I'm telling you this now because I can feel time running out, and I see too many people making the exact same choices I made, thinking they'll end up somewhere different. They won't. If you want to hear more stories like this from people who've actually lived long enough to know what matters, consider subscribing. Not for me, for you. Because these lessons don't come cheap, and most people don't figure them out until it's too late. For most of my life, everything looked fine from the outside. Better than fine, actually. I had a career that people respected. I had money in the bank. I had a routine that worked. Weekdays meant work, good work, important work. Weekends meant projects around the house, books I'd been meaning to read, errands that needed running. I was busy, productive, independent. I told myself this was what success looked like. No drama, no complications, no one to answer to. I could come and go as I pleased, make decisions without consulting anyone, eat dinner at 9 at night or not at all. The silence in my apartment wasn't loneliness, it was peace. Or so I convinced myself. But there was this moment every Sunday evening around 6 o'clock. The light would hit my kitchen table in this particular way, and I'd be sitting there with a cup of coffee that had gone cold, and I'd realize I hadn't spoken to another human being all weekend. Not one word. The phone hadn't rung. No one had knocked. And I felt something I couldn't quite name, something that wasn't peace at all. I wasn't living. I was going through the motions, and I didn't even know it. The thing about living on autopilot is that you don't notice you're doing it until something forces you to look. For me, it was a Wednesday afternoon in November. I was 76 years old. I'd gone to the doctor for what I thought was a routine checkup, just something to tick off the list before the holidays. I remember the examination room was cold. One of those fluorescent lights was flickering. I was sitting on that crinkly paper, and the doctor came in with my test results in a manila folder. She didn't sit down. That should have told me something right there. She said I needed to call someone to drive me home. Said we needed to run more tests. Said the word serious 3 times in 2 minutes. I couldn't call anyone. There was no one to call. My phone had exactly 6 contacts in it. The pizza place, the pharmacy, my landlord, my accountant, my doctor's office, and the bank. Not a single person who would drop what they were doing to come sit with me in a medical office. I drove myself home, white-knuckling the steering wheel. And that's when I realized the lie I'd been living. The lie wasn't that I was independent. The lie was that independence was enough, that it was noble, that it meant I was strong. I'd spent 60 years building a life that looked successful, but felt like a museum, well-organized, quiet, and completely empty of anything alive. The biggest lie we tell ourselves is this: I have time. We say it about everything. I'll travel after I retire. I'll call my brother once things settle down at work. I'll make new friends after this busy season. I'll reach out to that person after I lose 10 pounds, after I get the promotion, after I figure myself out. The goalposts keep moving. There's always another reason to wait, another milestone that needs to be hit first. And every year that passes, it gets harder to admit that you've been wrong, that you've been waiting for permission from a future version of yourself who never shows up. You think you have time to fix things. You think someday you'll wake up and suddenly have the energy, the courage, the clarity to do all the things you've been putting off. You won't. Someday isn't a day of the week. It's a graveyard where good intentions go to die. Do you know how many times you've told yourself you'll do something important later? Can you even count them? I had a colleague named Frank. We worked together for 18 years. He was one of those guys who was always talking about retirement, about the cabin he was going to build, the fishing trips he was going to take, the novels he was going to write. He had it all planned out, charts and everything. He was meticulous. Frank died 3 weeks after he retired. Heart attack. Sudden. No warning. At the funeral, his daughter stood up and read from a journal he'd kept, page after page of plans, things he was going to do, people he was going to reconnect with, letters he was going to write. She closed the journal and said something I'll never forget. My father spent 30 years planning to live and never actually did it. That sentence followed me home. It's followed me ever since. When you get to be my age, the regrets don't look the way you think they will. They're not about the big dramatic failures. They're about the small, quiet absences, the accumulation of all the times you chose safety over connection, convenience over meaning, independence over love. I regret not going to my nephew's wedding because I didn't want to take time off work. I regret not calling my mother more often in the last years of her life. I regret not telling my college roommate I valued his friendship before he moved across the country and we lost touch. I regret the woman I dated for 6 months when I was 42. She wanted something serious, and I wanted my freedom. I let her go. I thought I was being honest. I was being afraid. I regret every book I didn't read with someone to discuss it with afterward. Every meal I ate alone when I could have invited someone over. Every sunset I watched through a window instead of on a walk with another human being. I regret the trips I didn't take because no one was available to go with me, and I couldn't imagine going alone, even though I lived alone every single day. The rain hits the window differently when you've spent 70 years avoiding the very thing that makes life worth living. You hear it, and you think about all the rainy afternoons you could have spent with someone you loved, just sitting there, not needing to say anything, just being together. And you realize that's what you were avoiding the whole time. Not pain, not vulnerability, not loss, just being with another person. Not the promotions, not the bank account, not the clean apartment with everything in its place. The moments, the small, unremarkable, beautiful moments you can only have when you let someone matter to you. The thing that changes when you finally see it clearly is embarrassingly simple. It's people. That's it. Not impressive people, not useful people, just people. The ones who know your middle name and your coffee order, the ones who call on your birthday, the ones who ask how you're really doing and wait for the actual answer. It's meaning. Work that matters not because it pays well, but because it connects to something bigger than your own survival. Projects that excite you, causes that pull you out of your own head, conversations that leave you thinking for days. It's presence. Being actually here, in this moment, not in the past you can't change, or the future you can't control. Noticing the taste of your food, the warmth of the sun, the sound of someone's laugh, and its experiences. Not expensive ones necessarily, just real ones. Learning something new, trying something that scares you a little, saying yes when your instinct is to say no. The practical changes are smaller than you think. You start saying no to one thing that drains you. You start saying yes to one thing that feeds you. You call your parents on a random Tuesday, not because it's their birthday, but because you thought of them. You text a friend you haven't talked to in years, not with an agenda, just to say you remembered something funny they once said. You protect your health like it matters because it does. You move your body. You sleep. You stop treating yourself like a machine that exists to produce and consume. You go to the doctor. You ask for help when you need it. You admit when you're struggling. You take the trip. You read the book. You have the conversation. You don't wait for perfect conditions because perfect conditions don't exist. You do it scared. You do it imperfectly. You do it anyway. I'm not telling you to quit your job or abandon your responsibilities. I'm telling you that none of those responsibilities mean anything if you're building a life that looks good on paper but feels empty when you're living it. I'm 81 now, and I can't get back the decades I spent building walls instead of bridges. But you can make a different choice. You can make it today, right now. Before you finish watching this video, you could text someone. You could make a plan. You could decide that connection matters more than comfort, that relationships matter more than independence, that love matters more than being right. I want to know what you're going to do differently. Tell me in the comments. Not your whole life plan, just one thing. One small thing you're going to change this week. And if this story meant something to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. We all know someone who's building the same kind of prison I built. Subscribe if you want to keep hearing from people who've lived long enough to know what actually matters. Not theory, not motivational speeches, just the truth from people who can see the end of the road and want to help you avoid the potholes. Growing old alone wasn't the worst part. The worst part was realizing I chose it. Every single day for 60 years, I chose it. And by the time I understood what I'd done, most of the people who might have walked beside me were gone. Don't make my mistake. Don't worship independence until it becomes isolation. Don't protect yourself so well that no one can reach you. Don't wait until you're out of time to realize that the point of being alive isn't to be self-sufficient. It's to be connected. So what are you going to do with your time?